Senator, the state of the Congress right now seems to be so just broken. And you were there a long time. Does it look worse to you now than you ever saw it?
It really does, Governor. I hate to say it, but I've been out 5 years, but I maintain a kind of ongoing connection to the institution of Congress. I should as a citizen anyway, but because I was there 24 years, I do, and it pains me to see how little they get done, how little they're able to work together, come together to put the country first, to get things done for the country. American politics has always been spirited, partisan, although it worried George Washington at the very beginning, as you know, I'm sure, in his farewell address. President Washington kind of warned the country about the danger of what he called factionalism. He said he already saw signs that members of the government, Congress particularly, were putting the interests of their faction or party ahead of the interests of the country, and that would destroy the unity of the country, and at that phase of our history, even our independence. And what's happened, I think, is the parties have become stronger, controlling money and nominations. Interest groups have pressed in with a lot of money. In some sense, the media has helped encourage it, because in the old days, you know, when we watched the evening news, I didn't know whether Huntley, Brinkley, Cronkite were Democrats or Republicans. They just read us the news, and that was all we wanted. So the basic business of democracy, which is to getting together around a table, negotiating your differences, and okay, you're not going to get 100% of what you wanted, but maybe you'll get 50, 60, or 70%, and that's a lot better than 0%, which is what happens most days in Congress these days, and that means the country gets nothing done for us as well.
I used to say at the state level that I don't think Democrats are wrong all the time, or that Republicans are right all the time. It's just that Democrats are wrong most of the time. And that was just the way I said it. But in all seriousness, I don't see any real effort for people to work across the aisle toward things that deep down they agree on. DACA is a great example, Senator. Supposedly, this is what Democrats wanted. Republicans say, yeah, we can live with that. And yet nothing is happening. I don't understand that.
I don't either, and I agree with you. Just on DACA itself, these kids brought by their parents, a lot of them, most of them living really productive lives here, they want to stay, and there's tremendous public support for letting them stay because they've earned it, and they didn't come here of their own volition. And members of both parties, the majority, seem to agree with that, and yet they can't get it done. There was even an agreement to be made, if necessary, and this is the business of politics, quid pro quo, whatever, where you put DACA, protect the so-called dreamers, and let President Trump have some more money for the wall on the southern border with Mexico. And that, to me, seems so logical, but that failed too. And I think part of it is because everybody, again, wants everything they want, and they won't settle for less. Put the country first, and we, your constituents, first. Don't put your party or your ideology or your ego first. That is not good for America.
You have been quoted as saying that I agree more often than not with Democrats on domestic policy. I agree more often than not with Republicans on foreign and defense policy. I am an independent. And I know that to be true. One of the areas where you have been incredibly strong, not only on defense, but on foreign policy as it relates to Israel.
First, Governor, I'd be remiss if I didn't say, as somebody who really cares about the U.S.-Israel relationship myself, thank you to you for all you've done to strengthen the U.S.-Israel relationship and to protect the security. And in a section of the world that has been really important to American security, American prosperity, the Middle East, honestly, we have more friends than Israel, but Israel is by far our best friend. And what do I mean? We know in a time of conflict in the Middle East that we would never have a problem working with Israel militarily, basing our troops, bringing our boats, depositing our planes. In fact, we in America, actually, we forget this, but we've pre-positioned a lot of military equipment in Israel in case of a conflict in the region. And that's because there's such a connection of shared interest and values. Today, in our time, needless to say, both the United States and Israel have common enemies. One is Iran, of course, and the other are all the radical Islamic terrorist groups that threaten our lives and our values.
You have also been very bold and honest about your faith. You're the first Orthodox Jew ever to be elected to the U.S. Senate. You've never run from the embrace of your faith, and I find that so refreshing at a time when some people feel that you have to leave your faith at the door of public office.
You know, I appreciate very much what you said, and I got to go right back. Where did this come from? My mom and dad. Honestly, they raised me to believe that in America you were free to be what you are, and you didn't have to try to hide what you are or kind of assimilate yourself to some common culture. As a matter of fact, if you were who you are and you still obviously supported the country and the values of the country, probably you helped make the country stronger. So that's America, and that's why I love it, one of the many reasons. And I think it's still true today. Be who you are. I always tell young people, Jewish or Christian or Muslim or whatever, you're lucky, you're blessed to be in a country where I don't think you'll ever have to choose between your religious observance and your secular goals for yourself in your career. And that's you can't say that in too many countries in the world.
That is for sure. Senator, one final question. Give me the elevator speech, the 30-second to 1-minute version. If you could go back to the U.S. Senate and take the microphone and speak to those guys who are there today, what would you tell them?
Oh, I'd say, you know, dear friends, of course, we always say distinguished colleagues, remember why we came here. Remember why we went through a campaign, or the campaigns, which are, as you know, Governor, not easy. We came to get something done for our country and our constituents. And somehow, look at what you're doing. You're letting the parties pull you apart, the interest groups pull you apart, sometimes the media pulls you apart. And sometimes you do it because you think that's what you got to do to get the nomination of your party in the next election. Is it worth it? Do what you came here for, which is serve our country, work together, and that's the only way we're going to get it done. But honestly, I think most people out there really want members of Congress to work together to solve America's problems and to seize opportunities to guarantee a better future for our people.
Well, Senator, if it were up to me, I would make sure you got invited to make that speech. Thank you for joining me. What a pleasure to see you again. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Governor. God bless you.